Konstantinos Pitsillides is totally authentic. He made his way from Cyprus to London and created his own path in the culinary world. In the city known for the cheesesteak, Konstantinos stamped out his own territory, showing Philadelphia is also a city of diverse palates. His story isn't all winning, headlines, TV clips, and covers, but also the real deal truth about the restaurant business. Now, let's get to business. Hello, everyone. I am your host, Tatiana Ryan, and this is the Businessy Podcast. I am here with Konstantinos Pitsillides, who is a chef, restaurateur, author, and you may have seen some posts on my accounts about Chef Konstantinos because I published his book, Cuisine The Konstantinos Way, but he is with us today to tell us everything he has been doing because he has been very, very, very busy.
I wouldn't go that far that I will tell you everything. I'll tell you not. So my name is Konstantinos. Thank you, Tatiana, for accommodating me into your podcast, by the way. That would enable me to try and transfer a few things I know to the audience and to other people that they may be interested. So,
well, you have a very interesting life. And I know a little bit about it because I actually got to sit down with you and write about all of the stuff that you've done and get all the articles and everything. But
you are a very brave woman, I must say.
Thank you so much. You started out, you grew up in Cyprus, which you are wearing the shirt today. You are very proud of your Cypriot roots. Tell us about your childhood in Cyprus.
First of all, I was a very, very, very active young boy growing in Cyprus, in a beautiful island of the Mediterranean. Connecting the three continents. So we connect the three continents. We are the island of beauty. They call it the Aphrodite's island. Anyway, so basically I grew up in the wild, in the sea, in the Mediterranean, in the open spaces. I was free. My spirit was free. And I was lucky enough to say that I had a great, very eventful childhood up to the age of 18, where I had to go to the military for about 2.5 years. So Cyprus is definitely very close to my heart.
How did you know you wanted to be a chef before your military experience, which is actually something that most Americans don't know about because they're not mandated to go into the military at a certain point in their lives, like you are.
Correct. Yeah. And then it's something that I feel that everybody should go to the army for 1 year. Anyway, that's my opinion. But when did I discover that I wanted to be a chef or a chef owner? It is probably after I finished my military, where I was trying to figure out things. I was trying to follow my father's profession. I'm a tanner by profession, meaning that I take leather skins and I make leather. And then I decided not to. And then I moved to England in Northampton, where I studied tannery and chemical engineering, where I discovered that it's not for me. In between that, I had some part of the semi-professional. I was playing semi-professional soccer or football in England and played some rugby there. And I ended up in London, where I joined the culinary, it's not the culinary school, it's a hotel and management school, where I discovered that out of all the subjects of the hotel and management, kitchen was the one for me. Just out of nowhere, it just came, and maybe it's because of my attention deficit disorder, I don't know. But and then I realized that I need to speed up this. I need to the culinary, the school didn't offer me enough of what I wanted to do. I wanted to go in the kitchens and learn. And what I did I ended up knocking doors at the very, very important and very popular restaurateurs like Nicola Dennis, Pierre Kaufman, mega chefs of the London scene of restaurants. And I end up starting working there. And that's how I started my career, learning the hard way. Learning the hard way, meaning that it happened to be all the restaurants that I worked there that I wanted to have an experience as an apprentice. They were all Michelin Star restaurants, meaning there was a lot more pressure. So I learned more or less the hard way. And I spent about 11 to 12 years in London, where I improved and I developed my own style of cooking through those chefs that they more or less used me and abused me for so many years, in a nice way, not in a bad way. And then I decided to leave London 12 years later, where I met my previous, now ex-wife, Caroline, where she was from Philadelphia, USA. I left England. We moved to Cyprus together. We came to America for a year. I changed my mind. I went back to America, to Cyprus with her. And then a year later, I changed my mind again. I came back. I worked, and I decided to stay. And I worked in different kinds of restaurants all over Philadelphia, just to discover and find out about the market. And I realized there's a niche in the market, a gap in the market for me, meaning coming from Cyprus, I wanted to open up my own place. And that's when Kanella was born under me in 2007. I never looked back.
Well, let's take it back to when you were back in London learning under the Michelin Star chefs. Mm-hmm. What were some of the different lessons you learned under them? Because you told me a couple when we were writing the book, learning your knife skills.
Working in Michelin Star restaurants is not really, for me, looking back, it wasn't a very, it was a very big learning curve, meaning that working in places like that, you develop character, you develop your own style, you develop endurance, you develop many things that not a lot of chefs or cooks have. You also develop a lot of work ethics. I had a work ethic, but let me tell you what, being in a 2 or 3 Michelin Star restaurant, working under those conditions, 15 hours a day, you are there, live or die. So I decided to leave, and I decided to be alive on those places where I tolerate very almost abusive behavior that it doesn't exist now in our days. So being there, I learned everything from developing my cooking skills, developing my knife skills, developing endurance, working nonstop for 15 hours, 6 days a week, working under tremendous amount of pressure with no money whatsoever, by the way, in case you're wondering, because you were there to learn. And that's how everything should be. You know, you're there for a purpose. I was there for a purpose. And in the end, I gained a lot out of that. And that's how I decided through those experiences I had and my personality to open up my own place here in Philadelphia, USA.
Working under the Michelin Star chefs and working those rigorous hours, 15 hours a day, you said, and you were an apprentice, so you weren't making much money. The way that the Michelin Star restaurants work, food is kind of art there, correct? Like you had to plate things a certain way. Everything had to be perfect. As we've seen in that one Bradley Cooper movie about the chef, like literally it has to be perfect.
So everything has to be in a specific way. Everything has a purpose on the plate. Once or twice, excuse my French, I fucked up. I suffered the consequences for weeks. People were really killing me about that, about my mistakes. And that gave me a lot more focus and more, I became much more serious about the responsibility of working on a Michelin Star restaurant and what is my role regarding service. I had to serve a purpose, and the purpose was to have a great service without any interruptions and no mistakes. And everybody worked together on that. But it wasn't an easy one, I must say. It wasn't an easy ride,
When you decided, you met your wife, Carolyn, you came over to Philadelphia. Did you travel a little bit? Why did you fall in love with Philadelphia so much?
I did not travel. I decided that Philadelphia is not a bad city, and I knew that it would become even more a center of a restaurant scene, and I wanted to be one of the. I wouldn't go that. I would say pioneers, or somebody who can lead that trend that became a way of life of having so many choices of restaurants now. And Philadelphia is a great city for restaurants, I must say, all Pennsylvania altogether. So I decided to stay and stick with my guns and open up my own place. It was a small place where I made sure that it was not an average place. It was a very Mediterranean place. It was based on Cypriot cuisine, where I had a lot of Greek and Middle Eastern influences. And I also decided to evolve my own cuisine because my cuisine is kind of small. So I injected a lot more Mediterranean elements to it, or more Middle Eastern elements to it, and make it a lot more interesting. Kanella also, and I wanted to be always somebody who is different than anybody else, meaning that I realized, hey, let me do the insides of the animals. No other restaurant in Philadelphia or Pennsylvania or anywhere in the USA emphasize anything to do with the innards of the animal, or the offal, we call it. So I started doing things like lamb testicles, the heads of the pig, the lamb, the sweetbreads, you name it, I did. Not only I did, because I knew how to treat all those cuts of meat, we were selling it. So it became a unique selling point for us. Let's go to Kanella. I don't know what the chef is up to. I don't know the specials. It's something very unpredictable. We had our menu that it was changing once every 2 or 3 months because I was getting bored with it. So and then in combination of that, we had a lot of specials. We did Sunday nights, meze, sharing. People loved that. I was even doing cooking classes on Mondays. And then I had to cancel that because I became too tired. Whole animals, we serve whole animals. Not a lot of people did that. And I thought, oh, that's a niche in the market. Nobody does that. I'll do it. A lot more work. So I brought my own game birds from Scotland, wood pigeons, partridges, pheasants, grouse, woodcocks. And I used to warn my customers, be aware there could be a bullet in there, and they wouldn't believe me until they find a bullet in there, meaning that that's a wild game and I know how to treat it and I'm giving it to you. 2 months or 1 month a year. So Kanella was doing that. That was part of my personality. In combination of that, I had to work very hard, really hard. Because I did not want to settle into being an average cook or chef. I wanted to be above average. And unfortunately, I had to sacrifice a lot of things.
Well, your sacrifice really did pay off, though, because you gained a lot of recognition with Craig LaBan, and not only with the Philadelphia restaurant scene, which Philadelphia is basically known for cheesesteaks. You set everything ablaze with all of this wild game and offal and the other kinds of foods that you created. How did you get everyone's attention?
My charming personality and my character that helped me. Where I used to just, when I opened up Kanella, first thing I put on my windows, it was my own memorandums my messages to the public representing us, the cooks and chefs, one of them was, the customer is not always right. A term that gets easily misunderstood. Do not take me wrong. I'm the most gracious, hospitable person you can ever meet. And that's what we applied at Kanella. Very genuine hospitality, but full of character. Because in the end of the day, you go to eat good food, you go to have good service, you may have a great ambience, but there's another element to it. It's what we'll call the genuine theater. And this is what people remember. And I was assisting on that because genuinely, I was like that. Even my own staff, they were just characters, every single one of them. So we did something different than nobody else did. And what we got as a reward, apart from being very busy, we got a lot of acclamations from different kinds of food critics from all over USA. And that helped us a lot. And we continued that for many years until I decided to open up Kanella South. Kanella South was a bigger restaurant with a liquor license, much more grander, much more distinctive. That lasted about 2.5 years. Even though we were busy, even though we got a lot more reputation anywhere in the USA, from New York Times, you name it. But being a chef and working and running 200 miles an hour, unfortunately, my battery started getting a bit empty, and I needed to refuel that. So I burned out a bit, and that created depression, and that created a lot more situations to the restaurant. And then that affected my relationship with Caroline. And then we separated when the restaurant was open, and everything went downhill. Mishandling, everything was done. So very few regrets I have in my life, and one of them is the fact that I opened up that place and I didn't stay with the original one. But I'm not the only one. I know a lot of chefs and cooks that went through that. That they had to sacrifice things. I know a lot of great chefs that they open restaurants and they close them the next day or a year later. And that's the nature of the beast. It is what it is.
You not only had a lot of national accolades, you had international accolades, and you were asked to be guest judges and chefs on shows and everything. And talk about your decision to not do any of those shows.
So one of the shows is, you're absolutely right on that. And one of the reasons, because I was so committed to my own place and to my own customers. My customers they represent God to me. They're the ones who keep me going. They are my best and worst critics, because I had a very good customers, regular customers, that they were just there for a reason. Great food, great environment, and having a unique experience. One of the shows that invited me, it was the Iron Chef. I was on the last interview with them. I was about to join in when they asked me, how would you feel if you are away from the restaurant for a month? New York, San Francisco, and Tokyo. And I said, listen, I need to be honest with you. That would be nerve-wracking for me. I don't want to leave my restaurant. I don't want to leave my customers for a month. And that was the answer they didn't want to hear. But I sacrificed that. Not a lot of people know that. Well, I always felt that Kanella, even though we got so many acclamations and recognitions, we were very underrated. We didn't have a PR machine behind us. Our PR was word of mouth. And having to serve unique stuff to the public. And that's what we did.
Well, you also went off down a different road where Philadelphia is pretty much known for cheesesteaks and steakhouses. And you were not doing that, which gained a very affluent clientele from UPenn, from the lawyers and doctors and everything that had a different kind of palate rather than just the regular run of the mill.
Okay, so that's a very good subject there, because in the end of the day, I had to educate my customers regarding who am I to start with, where is Cyprus, what is Cypriot cuisine, my background, and the only way to do it is to stand my own. I stood my own grounds, and I started doing exactly that. I had to gain my customers' faith. And that's how my customers became loyal to me. And that's why Kanella is still in many people's hearts. And I always feel as a chef, we as chefs, we need to risk. We should not play safe. If we have abilities and we believe in our abilities and we have a product and we have something that we represent, like I represented Cyprus for many years, what I need to give you is my own entity, my own identity to you, the customer. And not a lot of people are doing that. They want to play it very safe, although I never played it safe. Sometimes it pays off, sometimes it does. One of the reasons I say that, years after when I sold Kanella, and because I had enough and I wanted another chapter of my life, I had a great opportunity with a great restaurateur called Schulzen. I worked there for him I was there with him for 6 months. But in the end of the day, I realized he was not the right fit for me, and the other way around. He was too corporate for me. And another learning experience I learned, even in my age of 54, I decided that I'm not a corporate guy. I cannot follow corporate because I have a mind of my own. I have my own spirit. I won't sacrifice my soul for corporate. No disrespect to him or to any other corporate people. They are very successful. They have a great process. They have a great formula. And I only wish them all the best.
Now, in between what you were just doing with Michael Schulzen, which was all over the papers and everything, there was that time of COVID. And unfortunately, there was a decision made to not stick with Kanella, and you did sell Kanella to someone else. But Kanella is still in business, correct?
Correct. Yes. And the end of the day, Kanella is still in business, different menu. It's a Mediterranean place, and very small menu, and I only wish them all the best. The main reason why I decided to unload Kanella to somebody else, or to pass the name Kanella to somebody else, it wasn't to do with COVID. It was to do with my personal decision. I said, I need a change. I need to get out for a few years. So I did. I left Kanella 2022 January, and then I had to deal with a lot of personal logistics and matters, and that's what I was doing. And then I came across a very talented young lady called Tatiana Ryan, where I ended up writing a book with her, with the great help she did, and that's you, by the way. And we created Cuisine The Konstantinos Way. That's one thing I did through the last 2 years. At the moment now, I'm just not that, I'm unrestful. I mean, I cannot rest. So what I'm doing now, I'm exploring a lot of cooking classes. I'm doing some personal catering through my customers that I have. And I'm also working in another Mediterranean place in Manian. And I will narrow it down, and then we'll see where the road will take me. But one thing for sure, I still have that energy and the knowledge, and hopefully somebody will benefit on that. So we'll see how it goes. It's as simple as that.
Well, writing the book, you got to narrow down, well, not only narrow down, but go through all of your recipes and see how different you are with comparing to other restaurants, and you're more rustic and find your own style, and be able to share that with people that can now take your own cooking classes and go out to Amazon and buy your own book.
Correct. And, I think that was the right thing for me to do, to pursue the cookbook. One of the main reason is because I wanted to transfer some messages in writing, and the only way to do it is the cookbook. And I must say, I would like to thank you for that, because you really capture me, not very fast, actually. Not a lot of people do that.
Well, there was a lot of late nights having to read your handwritten recipes. So.
Yeah, I'm not renowned to have a great writing, and I'm somebody who, if I give you a recipe, I will say, oh, you just take a pinch of that, add it in there, a layer of the spices on top, mix it together really well, put some baking soda and baking powder to make it lighter, shape it that way, and then that's a recipe. But I had to become a bit more disciplined on that. Going back into Schulze, one thing that I learned from working in a corporate place is to be a lot more specific about my own recipes. That's for sure. And I learned that. I realized that I wasn't too specific.
When you're working with a cooking class, like you had said, you had done cooking classes before in your own restaurant. Now you're actually going to branching out to either another place or somebody else's home place and doing catering themselves, and say they have a lot of questions about the way that you cook and the way that you may tweak a recipe or throw something else in, because your stuff is very, very fresh. How do you give them advice?
Well, first of all, I want them to have enjoyment. I want them to have fun with me. My approach is always in cooking classes. It's about knowledge, it's about techniques, it's about showing them how to open up the fridge and create something healthy and tasty. And that's what it's about. I represent the Mediterranean because I do come from the Mediterranean. And I always say that Mediterranean diet is a way of life, not a trend. And so when you're with me on cooking classes, then I'll be active, you be active, you will learn something, we cook together, and then we sit down and we eat what we just did in the last 2 or 3 hours. That's how I approach cooking class. You need to be full committed to your students or to people that they really want to learn something. And I want to be able to transfer my own philosophy with them, the rustic approach to food. In the end of the day, food is just food, food is about reminiscing for me, it's not about the itsy glitzy kind of stuff. You want to take a piece of fish and you don't want to mess around with it. Keep it as simple as possible because you want to taste the fish, and that's how I see it. If the recipe says you need to put garlic on the recipe, you put garlic. I won't hesitate not to put garlic because your breath will smell like garlic. I don't care about that. If everything has to be simple, then the approach regarding food has to be simple and natural too. So
the ingredients. Let's go into your ingredients, because your ingredients are sometimes not items you can pick up at a regular grocery store. So you're going to send somebody out to a different grocery store, perhaps an Indian grocery store or some kind of ethnic grocery store.
And I'm always there to give them references to where they're going to go and buy those special things from, the spices or different kinds of beans. But as long as you have olive oil and lemon, you'll be all right on that.
Well, that's good to know. Now, how can anybody get in touch with you to get signed up for one of your classes, or they can find their book on Amazon, which I will link in the body of this podcast. But where can people find you to get signed up for a class? Have you cater?
I have my own Instagram account called Cinnamon215. Cinnamon, not cinnamon, 215, meaning Kanella man. But so they can find me through that. And I have some forthcoming cooking events in September. Unfortunately, it's all sold out.
Oh, good
So,
for you.
yeah, it's great. And that's very encouraging for the future, meaning that anything that I will plan, I'll put it through my actual Instagram, and you're gonna know all about it, and also through Philadelphia Inquirer too, that they're very interested about my whereabouts. Still, that's great. So,
All right. Well, I will link your Instagram in there also. And that's amazing to hear that your cooking classes are already sold out. And hopefully we're going to have a lot more that we will see of you.
oh yeah, 100%. As I said, I will. I don't think I will be able to leave the scene just like that. You know, I have a lot to offer, and I'm doing it in my own way. So people need to enjoy.
Okay. Well, what about, do you ever think of maybe having another restaurant in the future?
Definitely not.
No.
No.
What would you say to somebody? Okay, what advice would you give somebody who is thinking about opening a restaurant?
Do not.
Do not.
That's it. Do not. You know,
It's a lot of work.
I had so many people asking me that. Oh, you know, I'm a great cook. I entertain people. I'm a lawyer, but I would like to open up my restaurant. And no, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. You have to have that thing in your head. You know, I call it madness or craziness. Or
I was going to say, is the screw tight or is the screw loose?
Loose all the way. It has to be loose. So. And then you may think about approaching of opening your own place.
Okay.
And you never know. And in combination of your own experiences, money that you're going to have to spend without any return, a bit of luck, you may have a chance.
Well, Konstantinos, thank you so much for giving us an overview as to what's been going on with you. I greatly appreciate it.
No, I thank you so much for giving the opportunity. And you will hear from me regularly.
Absolutely. My name is Tatiana Ryan. This is Konstantinos Pitsillides, and this is the Businessy Podcast. You guys have a great day.